What's going on, guys? I'm DJ Av, and today we're going to be doing a mixing 4 video for a particular producer that I find very interesting that is from France, and his name is Thomas Cordova. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play the track real quick, and then we'll decipher what we're going to do to it. Yeah, he man, I really love this track. I actually ran across him. Well, he's been a part of the channel as a viewer for a while, and gives good suggestions and whatnot. And I just decided to return a favor or two to him because yeah, he did a banging job. But first off, I noticed that he had used Maximus, which gets a solid thumbs up from me because when Maximus is quite clear what it does, and his by design, what he did in terms of just messing with the bands, the 3 different bands, your low, mid, and high. I noticed that he did a lot of good things off top with this mix, and the fact that he recognized that his low end would be a little bit much, which I adjusted this part right here, which is your knee, which is the true advantage of Maximus, and has been so since 2007 when nobody even used it. But now with the information age that we are at, everybody knows how to use it now. And adjusting this right here, I didn't want to, because originally, it was at its default setting, which I wish, and it might be the case that you can actually set it back to default. But having your knee like this, it kills a lot of the naturalness of your low end. And it's fine because it'll make it flat or whatever, so it'll be more than flattering when you go to play it in the car. You can adjust bass the way you want it or whatnot, and that's very traditional to brick wall it. But we don't live in a traditional over here. Go ahead and get to that bass part. So right now it's in solo mode. As you can see, it leaves no wiggle room for any punch when it's in that, and when it's set like that by nature. And just having that plus 6 will give it a great amount of boom that it needs, the punch that it needs for that matter. And on top of that, you will be able to accomplish other things as well if you use to roll it this way. That's actually what that is expanding. So as you can see, you can hear it. If I add everything else back in here, another adjustment that I did to this, because he actually what he had here, he didn't have his low end like that, and what this does is this stereo separation, and with stereo separation, you know, you kind of just want to have something dead center that has a lot of low end frequency content, so it doesn't sound as messy in the mix. And you know, you don't necessarily have to do it, but you can actually hear if I just go ahead and it's nice and expanded. But you know, this what that does is lessens the chance of any other frequencies that might be alike overlapping it, mainly in the mid lows. Now this is a very peculiar thing that I did here, because originally he had his highs kind of under his mids, and I thought, you know, it would make more sense if the hats were like that. Now you can actually hear the hats, you actually see them right here, which is, you know, using the oscilloscope to your advantage. You'll get to know what you need to correct in your mix so that everything else comes together. And again, the mid has all the middle frequencies, all the like frequencies, so that helps as well. So the other issue that I really want to come about working on this mix or whatnot, because the mix itself was pretty damn good. I mean, he did a damn good job. He freaked the hell out of the drum kit, the abstract art drum kit. I mean, but anyways, you know, I wanted to add the J37, which is a tape machine emulation, and it'll give certain frequencies a bit of a squeeze so that it doesn't, you know, leak about. And you know, once again, tape saturation and is a part of distortion. It will help glue the track together. And in other words, you know, saturation brings about a thicker sound, and much so have a prevalent overall feel. Like you can actually hear the tape emulation of the J37. Glue the mix together and kind of take some of those unwanted highs out, and some of the messier parts of the low end out, and give it a more solid texture. So now, granted, I mean, I believe this is what, $100. Not everybody's gonna have access to this, or money, or want to spend money on that. So, but this is well worth the money and for what it does. And I usually go a step further and add some wow to the track. I just kind of turn down the rate, and what that does, it gives it a more of a traditional old school tape feel, and you know, kind of wavery, kind of sample, like your track will sound more or less like something from like the 80s, and I believe something like this has that cinematic 80 type feel. Click. again, you know, one of the things I want everybody to take heed to within this this masterpiece of a track is the leveling, and which I don't often talk about, and I will be talking more about on this channel and in the new mixing and mastering series that I'm going to start probably tomorrow. Is the levels of this track. Like if you notice, like his 808 isn't overpowering his melody, and it's because if you look at the level, and you know, given that particular space, you can see in the oscilloscope that, you know, only the kick is in the front of most of the other transient that's related to it. And you know, that leveling your stuff like that will help within receiving a greater balance within your mix. And you know, being able to level your stuff is kind of the key if you want to have a track that moves. And that's the right kind of movement that you want. So just observe like the levels of each and every one of his melodic tones. As you can see, the track has this proper space, and you know, you don't, and that will help more or less before you get into, you know, using the master bus and using, you know, Maximus to kind of give that exact volume envelope the space for the track to actually breathe. And you know, a compressor again is just a volume envelope in a nutshell. Because you're controlling the volume depending on what, you know, if it's a multi-band compressor or not, that you're making sure that everything is leveled correctly. Speaking of which, that brings me to the master knee in the multi-band compressor. Bug in here, but anyways. See, once again, it makes sense to how he's had the knee set, because having the knee set like this, which they call this a hard knee, and you know, this is a curved knee, a soft knee right here if you have that curve, which actually welcomes a lot more of sometimes it sounds more aggressive than needed, but you know, it could be appropriate for depending on what type of track that you're producing. Now you can see where the track is living the most, you know, and keep in mind, I just have it on the, I had just the main melodies playing at once and not the drums or anything like that. So let's hear it with the drums. One also another thing, and you know, just messing with this is just the saturation. It's really no need to mess with this area right here. And it's not really aggressive anyways, for that matter. You know, and you actually can see it if you disengage the bands and go into monitoring. You can actually see what you are dealing with when you, in terms of adding saturation to what part of the beat you want. So as you see, if you raise the ceiling, you can see the ceiling right here and how much of saturation you want. So this is actually a very visual plugin, and you know, it helps. I think it more helps if you if you listen with your ears than listening with your eyes, which doesn't make sense, but you get the point. But again, the whole entire point of this visual is just to see where you're adding more of the saturation within Maximus. And Maximus saturation is okay. I mean, it's not the best in the world, but you know, it does do its job. Again, you know, you can set it individually and whatnot. And these lines, if you're wondering what these lines mean, that's where the mid is, and that's where the low end is. And you know, so now we're at a point now where the track has a different shape, a different feel to it, and you know, just once again, saturation or distortion or whatever, just reshaping the different waveforms. You know, the presence has been raised, and now you can hear almost every part like it's how it should be within a composition. But that's basically about it. If you like this video, give it a like. If you have any more questions or whatnot, just ask or whatnot. Once again, thank you, Thomas Cordova, for sending this track over. I didn't even ask for him. He just wanted me to, I guess he wanted me to add parts, which there's some things I could add to this track, but I think it's right like rain. The way it is now is perfect. And, you know, just mixing whatnot. Just wanted to bring this track out to its true potential. But anyways, I'm DJ Av. Thank you so much. Have a good day.